Quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. Story number 1. A Tuesday written by a glass of whiskey. In the beginning of the universe, there wasn't all that much to be excited about. No bread nor peanuts as far as the eye could see. Just a tiny, insignificant ball. You could hold it in your hand if you wanted. Although, as soon as time got to hold it, you wouldn't really want to. Soon it would expand. Soon it would explode into a universe of matter containing such marvels as peanut sandwiches. But not yet. A tentacle stretched into the ball. An atom moved to the side. By a creature not wholly there. Not many things would change, but some would. It was a Tuesday, worst day of the week. Some say Mondays, the fools. That was just the beginning. Rarely, some idiot says Friday. The day's so close to the end that it's practically half day. No, the 3-day contestants are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Thursday was a bit too close to the weekend, so that couldn't be it. Many would lean towards Wednesday, but halfway through Wednesday, you are over halfway done. An encouraging thought like that has no place in the worst day of the week. So, it had to be Tuesday. As far gone from the end as they could be, without ending up the beginning. By far the worst time to be alive. He thought all these thoughts as he stared into his computer screen. At the moment, he wasn't sure what he was doing. And that wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for all those other moments, where he also had no idea what he was doing. He had a job. No one knew precisely what it was, but he did it. Once the man he presumed to be his boss had inquired about it, when he felt that his response had been suitably long and obtuse enough, so that the man's eyes were glazed over enough to remind him of a glacier, he let him go. That had put a stop to that. Sometimes he was asked at parties, or, more honestly, family gatherings, "What is it that you do?" His response of, "I don't," was true, but not the sort of answer that people who ask that kind of question are looking for. Eventually, he would settle down to, "I'm a writer," which was a lie, but always elicited the same response. A sort of manic look of an animal trapped in a cage and a, "That's nice," followed by an excuse and a rapid departure, lest he started talking about it. His work could be done by a one-eyed monkey holding a Sharpie, but they would never be able to convince the monkey to sit in a chair and stare at a screen for 8 hours a day, no matter how many bananas they were willing to offer. So here he was. He often wondered how much stupider than the monkeys he was for accepting the deal. Monkeys didn't have money, of course, but they never seemed to quite need it, even for bananas. Which was odd, cause from what he had been taught, that was the point of it. Life, the universe, everything, or money. Even the monkey would die if someone could make a few bucks off of it. Ugh, Tuesdays, the worst day of the week. He had not always been the doom and gloom. Happy memories floated to the surface, or of relaxing in a comfy couch and reading a good book. In the ancient time of Saturday, maybe Sundays were the worst day. They would be precisely as good as Saturdays, after all, no work. But somehow the dread of another week always leaked into them. That old chores they needed doing after ignoring them all week. No, he had come to the conclusion that any day that was not a Saturday was the worst day of the week. Satisfied, he went back to doing the work for which he was paid, which he would sit in the chair and stare at the screen, when a tentacle reached through it and grabbed hold of his face. He barely resisted it as it pulled him towards the screen. If tentacles coming out of computer screens were going to kill him, they had chosen the right day. 'Cause today was not Saturday. Closing his eyes, waiting for his head hitting the screen or death. But nothing. After a few seconds, he opened them again and quickly closed them. A view full of tentacles was not the greeting that he had hoped for. "You have been brought into this realm, human, because you are uniquely suitable for one job, one quest of epic proportions." The words he had secretly hoped to hear his whole life, although the effect was spoiled somewhat by the words not being spoken by a sexy space elf, but rather a thing with more tentacles than his mind knew what to do with. Slowly, he opened his eyes, trying to take in just enough of the creature to keep his mind in one piece. Was the sound he managed to get out. It would probably be immensely dangerous, but what do you say to something like that? "Sorry, no thanks. Got the slow suicide I'm working on. That's showing great promise." Feck it. Worst that could happen was he died a horribly painful death. At least, that wouldn't be boring. "Sure. Okay, I accept. Is there a dragon somewhere? Princess?" He was unsure of what the proper protocol for quests from a tentacle monster were. Perhaps they just needed someone who could operate tools. "Ha ha! You are a funny one. I have changed the very fabric of the universe itself to be able to bring you before me today." That was a certainly impressive statement. "What precisely is it that you need from me?" "There is one task, one quest so grand that no lesser being can compare to you in its execution." That was nice, but it didn't answer his question. Also, grand quest, no lesser being. Him? Details, please. If he was going to single-handedly take down a spaceship, he at least wanted to demand some weapons. Which could you do it for him? "There is an uncertainty principle in our universe, similar to yours, but at a larger scale. Simply put, if something is not observed enough, it ceases to be, of course, uniquely suited. He should have known. But the whole deadly thing seemed to have been avoided. All right, how much observing are we talking about, Jim? 8 hours of every one of your normal human days should be about right. Here, we have a big screen to make it easier for you." A screen. Always a screen. It did not show the tropical paradise, nor any kind of paradise that he was familiar with. In fact, there was a lot of rather dull grey goo. His destiny called. At least the screen was large, and presumably a low chance of death. Epic quests that killed you had some drawbacks. His rational mind continued on, trying to smooth out the humps found so far in his epic quest. Looking around, a bit of another problem struck him. "Do you have a chair to sit on?" "A chair? Can't say that we have any of those. Mostly just turn into a puddle on the ground if you want to sit." Hyper-advanced beings from another dimension, but a simple chair is apparently outside their powers. His brain started to remember that it was a Tuesday. Otherworldly dimension with tentacle monster or not, nothing good ever happened on a Tuesday. His last job had only been important in that it padded the employment statistic. Here at least, the epic quest had its advantage. Right. With a shaky voice, filled with Tuesday dread, he asked, "But it's immensely important, right?" "Oh, of course, thank God. For that, at least. For the moment there, that's our lunch you're looking at." End of story. Story number 2. The Voidlanders, written by Hidden Fox. Dancer woke up to a cold dark. The cryopod automatically opened, and its lights filled the darkness. The darkness revealed the walkway beneath the cryopod, and after a few minutes of regaining his senses, Dancer stepped out. His balance was still off, and he almost fell, grasping the handrail for support. Dancer tried to think of what he had to do. He had forgotten, but the computers hadn't. Activating the terminal by his cryopod, he navigated towards his instructions. "Insurkians," Dancer heard what he had said and tried again. "Insurkians! Insurrections! Instructions. His throat still numb from cold of the cryopod, but at least he could say something. Dancer looked back at the terminal. He found the instructions that he had so many issues with saying, and began to mutter off the checklist. Check speech capabilities. Got that. Check date. Dancer attempted to access the time database several times, and it didn't work. Check for other way keys. Dancer looked first up, then left, then right, behind and below. No light dared respond. The cryopod was still dark. Odd. Dancer grabbed the light from the cryopod and headed down the walkway. Dancer had volunteered to be a way key, and now he had to do his part. Dr. Masung, Chief Officer of Engineering. Okay, let's go get you off the ice, Doctor. Dancer leaned in to the terminal. He held his hand against the screen, the machine scanning its heat flowing from his palms. Dancer tapped on the screen, initiating the wake-up process. The lights in the cryopod turned on, another beacon of light in the sea of dark. Dancer waited. A red light from the screen was met with a frown. The frown fell right from his face when he read the terrible words. Heartbeat, 0 per minute. Blood O2 levels, 0 per millimeter. Neural impulses, 0 per second. Brain activity, none. Conclusion, subject terminated. Oh, God. Dancer ran to the next cryopod. The same red light met him. Oh, dear God! Dear fucking God! Dancer was met with the red light after red light. He reached down on his own pod and went to the one next to it. Come on! Wells, come on, Wells! Please, Wells, please! Dancer almost collapsed onto Wells's pod. Dancer mashed the button. He braced for the dreaded red. He shut his eyes tight, hoping that if he couldn't see it, it wouldn't happen. For once, it seemed to work. Wells's pod went green. Wells's pod opened, and they stepped out. Dazed, they stumbled, and Dancer caught him. Dancer held him tight for a few moments. Another light in the black void. 2 candles into the void. Escher Station lived. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed